To our latest episode of Better Humans at Work. I am thrilled to be joined today with Pierre Anthony. Thanks for coming on and joining us.
Well, thank you, Dr. V, for having me.
Oh, we're so happy to have you here. So, as opposed to our typical HR and DEI practitioners, Pierre comes from a very interesting background. He's a retired Marine Master Sergeant, Master Explosive Ordnance Disposal technician, so a bomb technician, and father
Yes.
of four, residing in
Yeah.
Jackson, Mississippi. His active duty career was focused on the war terror and specifically to his capacity disarming improvised and explosive devices during 4 consecutive tours to Iraq and Afghanistan. Wow. He also conducted training and operations in Japan, Korea, and the Philippines and other countries across the Asian Pacific and world. Today, though, he's an independent contractor, an independent consultant who uses military background to help organizations navigate different personalities in the workplace. Woo! So I have to ask, how did you go from the transition of being, a Marine Master Sergeant into doing consulting work? Like, what was that transition like for you? Fill us in. What's your story, Pierre?
Well, Dr. V, it's been a great journey for the transitional part of it. Towards the end of my military career, I'd already known that I would parlay my skills and attributes that I developed in the Marine Corps and as a bomb technician into a consultancy, because the Marine Corps has some very specific and unique dichotomies when it comes to leadership. And I think that having an opportunity to serve full scale like that, and some of the uniqueness that I'm speaking about would be going into someone's home and mentoring their husband and the wife and the children, right?
Mhm.
Or helping someone with their bills or credit or whatever situation a employee may have in the military. The leadership handles that. And that is not a avenue that a lot of entrepreneurs or business people or leaders or managers may have in the regular civilian corporate business world. And I thought that that would add a lot of value, coming from my background and then adding that to what's already available out there in those terms.
So, what does a typical work engagement look like for you? G- Tell me how you're using those bomb diffusing skills in the workplace to help us operate better as humans at work.
Absolutely. It's all about asymmetrical creative thought and relentless problem solving, right? And so what I do is go in and try to help business owners.
Sorry, real quick. Asymmetrical way of thought. You have to describe that because I'm very intrigued.
As, Asymmetrical thought, or so there are a lot of already well trodden pathways to get to a particular result. And sometimes those pathways are so well trodden that they lose their efficiency over time. But the
Mm,
result still needs to be captured. I'm a person, because of my bomb disposal skills and how my mind works for that problem solving mechanism. I can very easily understand how to manage risk and individuals to achieve a particular result. And when I go in with businesses or consult with business owners, it's typically about gaining them an advantage with their employees or gaining them a piece of leverage with their business that's going to help create more value.
interesting. Okay. So last time we talked all over the place. I was like, well, how are we going to will our Better Humans at Work episode down to one topic? And you wanted to go for navigating different personalities in the workplace, right? And
Yes.
so I guess let's start with the why. Like, why do we have to? Why can't everyone just act the same or be the same? Like, why do we have to have different personalities in the workplace? Why do we have to navigate that?
Well, because inherently we're all built so differently, and there needs to be a level of professional empathy and emotional intelligence that's in the with the individual in the workplace to help us stand each other. Because if we don't have that, we get on each other's nerves, and that affects the overall efficiency of our mission, right? And so, because we're so different as individuals, there needs to be more thought and more insight placed into other individuals and probably yourself. Because I believe that from a leadership aspect, the first thing and the first person that we develop for leadership is ourselves. And after we become competent at that, then we're able to effectively lead others. So,
Mm,
believe it or not, a lot of my conversation for this type of mechanism is for the individual themselves. They're how your cognitive functions are put together. Where are your shadows? How are they organized? And your boundaries, what are your boundaries and how are they affecting your performance at work?
So I love all that, and I feel like I make a lot of the same arguments for DEI and navigating different personalities. That falls under the DEI bucket because.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious. So I want to nerd out with you for a second because I studied personality in my graduate school training, and I'm curious when you talk about personality, like what personality traits are you referring to? What models?
So there's different models that I look at. Part of I'm not classically trained in any of this, but I'm aware of the MBTI. I'm aware of is it Enneagram?
Enneagram.
Enneagram. I'm aware of human design. I'm aware of different energetic systems, and I think that there's a bit of truth imbued in all of these writings and all of these literatures. For me personally, I take a little bit out of each one to create my own special moxie for leadership, because I don't think that either one of them has the end all be all answer. And I think that um, a human personality is a progressive thing that increases over time. So I believe in taking a more modern approach to get to my end result.
I appreciate that. And as a practitioner, I'm always having to modify things, build things to make it fit for what that client need is. As your resident organizational psychologist, Pierre, I'm going to give you some free advice. You put it
Put
on.
me on game.
So the best way to both talk about and measure personality is the big five.
Okay.
And to remember it, it's ocean. So the first one's open to experience. So how
Okay.
open are you to new experiences? How open-minded are you? OC is conscientiousness. So things like attention to detail or always being on time or early, that's high
Mm-hmm.
conscientiousness. E is extroversion. Other side of that's introversion. A is agreeableness. So
Mm-hmm.
how agreeable are you in certain groups? I'd rather just instead of stirring the pot, I just want to be agreeable. I just want to go with the flow. And N is neuroticism. So how neurotic are you? So that one is actually
Okay. That's a good one. That's
yeah,
hidden right there.
yeah. So there's a lot of like good and free measurement tools out there to measure these characters, these traits, and it's relatively stable. So meaning like if you take this test at age 25, it's going to be relatively the same when you're at 40 or 65 or 85. It's really interesting, and I think of it. I think of them all as like dials on
Mm.
a soundboard, where like
Mm-hmm.
we all range between introversion and extroversion depending on the context. Even the
Sure.
biggest introverts need to act like extroverts sometimes if it's like their birthday party or whatever.
Right.
And it's the same way with like I think I used to be more neurotic in my earlier days, and the older I got, I'm less neurotic. I'm more chill and go with the flow. But yeah, that's my organizational psychologist education throwdown.
Dr. V, do you feel like when an individual has a better concept of these principles that's in our own functioning, that gives us a better handle on how to engage with others because we see ourselves more clearly?
That is yes, true. And secondly, that's what emotional intelligence is.
Mm,
So
okay.
emotional intelligence is how you both perceive and regulate your own emotions and others' emotions. And
Okay.
so knowing what type of personality type you are, knowing, about yourself helps you better control yourself. It's just more tools for like living in this world of knowing. Like, I know I am a clinical extrovert. Clinical. I need human interaction. Like I
Okay.
so bad, and it's so funny because I work from home by myself. My
Is that
cat.
a challenge?
It's been a challenge for sure. It's why I love things like this. This is
Okay.
why I build things like this in my life. I'm a clinical extrovert. I know that about myself. I know if I'm feeling antsy, it means I need to go out and go have fun, and go be around other people. But if I was an introvert, I would have to know that being inside and being having alone time would be really important,
Mm-hmm.
especially to refuel after a socially intensive situation.
And I'm an introvert, so I didn't know. I had no idea that these were two types of energy constructs that need to be nurtured and addressed a particular way. And so, for the entirety, until I was retiring, almost in my 19th years, when I came upon these concepts, and so I was able to look back and was like, well, well, no wonder. As an introvert, I need to have that alone time with myself in order to reestablish a baseline
Yeah.
because my energetic holdings are relinquished so quickly when I'm in the presence or working with others.
Yes, exactly, exactly. So, okay, so we're nerding out on personality traits, which I love. Let's bring it back into the workplace.
Okay.
So, what are
Okay.
some strategies that you would recommend using when we have different personalities in the workplace? And personality can mean lots of things, and I would even lump political affiliation in there, right?
That's
I would
good.
lump religion in there,
That's good. Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, enlighten us, Pierre. How do we navigate this? What do we do?
So I tend to view these things as spheres, right? Circular constructs because they're three-dimensional in nature. The way that I think about it. But you could never show the whole ball to someone else, the whole sphere to someone else. So I would encourage people to understand and to know that we're only delivering a portion of our overall humanity or personality at any given time, and we're only receiving a very limited portion of someone's personality as well. And typically, those givings and receivings are articulated by the construct that you're in, which is right now we're talking about work, right? And so, since it causes us to get a little bit from what we would normally do in our own skin, we have to develop a level of reservation and patience when dealing with our counterparts so that we give the space for these things to occur because they are going to occur because life is happening real time. You
Yeah.
know, I believe that having the ability to develop patience because it is a skill and having the ability to develop that type of insight will give people more peace and help the workplace become a calmer environment.
So what would be an example? What would that look like in practice?
So you don't quite understand what somebody's saying, right? A lot of times we're talking with individuals and we may be having a discussion or a conversation, and many times there are two different ideas being discussed in the middle. This person is coming from point A to the middle. They're discussing it from one sector, and person B is discussing it and looking at it from another direction. Well, instead of becoming frustrated or visibly angry or visibly irritated with that person in their dialogue or their lexicon and their jargon, I think that it would be prudent to just step back and let that talk fill the area so that the person can talk through and we can receive understanding. What I witness is that a lot of times once person A starts to understand that person B isn't having the same conversation and there's a lack of understanding, I think that some of those who don't have as strong of an emotional knowing tend to get frustrated and want to ward that conversation off. And instead of doing that, we want to entice productivity. We should just create the space to know that this isn't about me. This is about that person having the space to fully get their idea or thought through.
So I'm hearing it really comes down to patience. So stepping back, giving space, being patient, and like truly listening.
Yes.
I love it. I love it. I can't spell patient though. I want to put it on the screen.
Does is it one of those episodes where it looks wrong on the screen, but it's actually spelled correctly?
That's always the worst. Okay, so the first piece of advice is to step back, give space, be patient, and truly listen.
Yes.
I think that all kind of boils down to just like giving space for it. So stepping
Yes.
back, being patient, really listening, just giving that space. So now, like, what else would you recommend? Like, say a you're a manager of a team that has to work together, and there's a very different personalities on that team. Like, how would you go about helping solve that?
Well, when the personalities are different, I try to allow people more space by inviting their shadows into the workplace, right? I think that a lot of times we try to make the energy as clean as possible by making it so professional or so organized that some people who are built differently don't have space to be themselves. And I think that it's allowable to allow a person to have a decent amount of their shadow at work, because the shadow has energy, it has a voice, it has a need to express itself, and that energy can be utilized if the construct is put together and nurtured correctly. So I would, and that's what I mean by asymmetrical, because most people would be like, I wouldn't allow certain things. Well, no, bring who you are into the workplace, and let's see the fullness of you. Perhaps you feel more comfortable or you're more fulfilled then, and then we can meld together as a team. So I would allow people to bring more of their shadow aspect appropriately into the workplace functions.
So I talk about something similar with DEI, which is I don't think we should ever be bringing our full selves to work. Like my full self to work right now would be no makeup, no wig, sweatshirt, like I'd be super comfy, but like I don't want to bring my whole self to work. I want to bring my best self to work. This
True.
this I right now this is the best version of myself from what I'm doing in this context, right? So I want to be the best version. And so what you're saying is letting in a little bit of that shadow, of that darkness, up to a point, right? I think it's up to a point. Like we still need
Very.
to show up. We need to have emotional intelligence.
Right.
We need to have cognitive awareness.
Of
We need to
course.
be socially, fitting in enough that we're not, like causing a disruption. Like,
Right.
and so I think it's really interesting that, but we should let a little in, and
Of course.
I
Of
do let a
course.
little in. I do let a little in, and those are the moments where I have allies, where I can say,
Mhm.
my son's home from school today, and I'm having a hard time juggling all this. Or I can say, like I'm not feeling super well. Can you like cover for me today, or whatever the thing is? But now I'm babbling, Pierre. Oh my gosh, I'm babbling.
No, 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 not at all.
We're getting close on time. There is a great comment I wanted to share from Tamika Ventez. Different personalities definitely bring out our different strengths. For instance, when the perfectionist may be someone that slows things down, but they'll also catch mistakes. While
Hmm.
the free spirit may have lack of structure, but be able to bring a lot of creativity and energy to a project or a workspace. So I here's a fun fact about the big five personalities. So of those big five personality traits, the one that's most predictive of job performance is conscientiousness. And that's the
Hmm.
one that it's about detail orientation, being there on time, following the
Hmm.
rules, just like I want to like do the right thing. And so those make the best workers, high
Of
conscientious
course.
people. And I know this data. I know these facts, and I am low on conscientiousness. It's so embarrassing. I'm an IO psychologist, low on conscientiousness because I'm so high on openness to experience and extroversion. I'm the creative person that brings in these like fun new ideas, but like when it comes to like getting them accomplished, I'm like, I need a project manager. I need an assistant.
Well, Dr. V, that brings to the last point, which is boundaries, right? The proper establishment of boundaries. When you have those types of dichotomies, at war with each other, and you're bringing in the shadow, you better make sure that you have your boundaries in check for yourself. And then that way, that will help you to more appropriately limit um, what you don't want coming in from your coworkers as well. So if you're, and that also will help to limit how much of your shadow you allow to escape, because your boundaries are in place and they're intact.
So two was let in a little shadow, let in a little bit of that realness to an extent,
To an
to
extent,
to an
not too much.
extent, still have emotional
Yes.
intelligence, still be smart, like just to an extent, but letting a little bit in. And then third, boundaries,
Hmm.
having clear boundaries. So I
Yes.
will not tolerate this.
Right.
If you say this, I will leave the meeting, right? If
M- Mostly for yourself with boundaries.
Yes, yes, self.
Talking to yourself, self
Mhm.
boundaries.
Ooh,
Yes.
self boundaries. Yeah. If I do
Yes.
this, I will
Yes.
not do Y. Yeah. If I, yeah.
Yes.
Self talk. Oh, that's so good. I can't believe it's already been 20 minutes.
Oh, oh
Uh,
my goodness.
Pierre, How would you like people to get in touch with you if they want to work with you, or do more, just be more about what you do?
Absolutely. I'm on LinkedIn. Meet me on LinkedIn. Pierre Anthony. I'm very easily searchable, and I'll be looking forward to you guys' inboxing.
Love it. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And thank